Perfect.
Hi, Seth.
Hey,
How's it going, man?
good. How are you doing, Troy?
Doing good. I love your setup.
Thank you so much. I had to, make the movie room, game room, interview room look good.
Ah, so cool. I want to have like a little gaming movie den as well. Like, it's so cool.
It's
Love that.
necessary. So I'm Seth with According to Seth. I'm here with Troy Gutierrez, who's playing Ryan in The Strangers Chapter 1. How are you doing today?
Doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. I saw the film last night. I absolutely loved it, and dude, it was nuts. I know you're no stranger to horror. Obviously you've been in some other horror projects. What is it about horror that kind of like makes you gravitate towards it, and what attracted you to this role for The Strangers?
Yeah, man. I mean, I've been really lucky to be in kind of an array of like thriller, horror, and I don't know what the word would be, but I guess Halloween genre stuff. Like
Yeah,
Hocus Pocus 2 is not a thriller, not a horror, but it's spooky. Um, and yeah, I mean, I really love thrillers. I really developed a taste for them. Kind of like through Mr. Robot and like movies like Drive and Fight Club um and horror was something I didn't really grow up with. Like my cousin in Guadalajara, she like showed me this movie called Signs with Joaquin Phoenix, and I was so put off from anything scary. I'm a very like skittish person, and like weirdly enough, as I got older, like I just had friends who did like Universal Studios like haunted horror nights every year, and I went to do that. And I'm not a roller coaster person, but I found myself like liking the adrenaline of haunted houses, and yeah, and then I just really like loved Alex Garland movies like Annihilation and Ex Machina, and then from there kind of went into like Hereditary and Midsummer and Ari Aster movies, and I was like, oh wow, like this is a like a really nuanced, intricate, um, like fascinating genre, and you can explore so much that I haven't really gotten the chance to explore yet.
it's
And
funny. I was gonna
oh
say
yeah,
it's funny you brought up this Signs because that movie scared the living crap out of me. That birthday party scene and
oh
Annihilation's fantastic.
yeah, Annihilation is one of my favorites. Yeah, and then with The Strangers in particular, what really made me want to do this role was actually like there's a line in the very last scene that you saw last night, um, that I found really anchored the character of Ryan throughout the entire script. And I just really loved the choice to have somebody in that position take that action. I remember reading it and kind of being baffled by it in a way where I was thinking this doesn't make sense. And I kind of love the challenge of how do I make this make sense in my performance, you know, and I like to think I did. So yeah.
You definitely did. And one thing that I noticed too is like you and Madeline had such amazing chemistry together, and it felt like, the characters were actually a couple when watching it. So
Yeah.
I wanted to find out, is there like a favorite memory you had from set or one that kind of like sticks out to you the most where you remember that like helped shape that chemistry?
Mm. Funny enough, I can't remember like one anecdote. It
Yeah.
was mainly just the process of both of us being thrust into this like, you know, incredibly long days, 52 days shooting three movies back to back to back and hitting the ground running. Like neither of us had like any chance to like really lay a ton of groundwork. And so we just really both had to instinctively trust each other from the get-go. And I think that that is kind of one way to develop chemistry, weirdly enough. We were kind of the only people there for each other. Like the
Mhm.
first movie is kind of just us. And it was really important for me that the relationship felt real, it felt grounded, it felt like they could be a couple who love each other, but they also like each other. They're also best friends. They speak a language that they don't speak with anybody else. And it's hard not to have chemistry with Mads. She's an incredibly talented actress, you know.
It's so awesome. And obviously, like you said, being on set, it was just you two, but the strangers are all dressed up, and you know who they are. But was there a moment when filming this that like actually legitimately scared the crap out of you?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Nothing like strangers related on set
Yeah.
scared me, really. However, all of the practical effects that we were actually involved with, and a lot of the stunts in the movie were me and Mads doing them. So sequences like the car and the motorcycle blowing up and the axe going through the door, crawling on the hood of the car with broken glass all over it. and running through the woods. Like those were all sequences that I actually shot and I was actually terrified of. I'm notoriously clumsy, so I was making a great deal of effort to not injure myself and therefore like delay production. So I was being extra careful, and I never injured myself during a stunt. However, I did injure myself during mundane scenes. I would slam a door and I would like cut my hand open. It was very funny.
That's awesome, honestly. So wait, are you then the messy eater? Is that true?
I think I can be. Yeah, a little bit. Not that messy. I don't know what he was doing that day, but no, I can certainly be a messy eater. I'm not a loud eater though.
That's
I do
good.
I do have like a vendetta against white t-shirts. Like I really want to wear them, but I know I can't because I will spill coffee on them at some point during the day.
Listen, don't feel bad about that because I spill coffee on myself all the time. It's coffee. It happens.
It's a part of life. It's a
It's
part
a
of life.
part of life. So I think, when we watch horror films, we all think we could like survive the night. But when watching it back, if you were put in Ryan's shoes, do you think you would make it out alive? And is there anything you would have done differently as yourself versus what Ryan chose to do in the film?
It's funny, Rennie and Mads, who's also an executive producer on the
Mhm.
film, and Courtney, another producer, they made a great deal of effort to be like, okay, let's not have them be stupid. Like we don't want people to be yelling at the screen like, do this, do that instead. So there was a lot of moments of like when I find the car, I like have the car keys and I'm like checking the back seat just to make sure that there's nobody there. There were a lot of moments like that, and I think Maya and Ryan are like exceptionally smart and exceptionally capable under those circumstances. Like she's an architect and knew that there was a crawl space under the house, things like that, where I'm like, that would not even cross my mind. So I know for a fact I would be a goner. Yeah.
So you and me both. And it's funny that you bring that up that like the characters were more knowledgeable because I noticed that you looked in the back seat, which like in every horror film nobody does. But there was one sequence that I saw where you lost your inhaler and you used a water bottle. Like, what was that about? Because I've never seen that done before, and I thought that was like a really cool like addition.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I also was very curious about it when I read the
Yeah.
script. And I looked it up on YouTube and I wanted to make sure I was doing it right. And yeah, again, these are, and when I was doing like my character notebook for Ryan, like I had a little journal for him. I just figured he like maybe was like in Boy Scouts and learned how to do that just in case anything happened. And yeah, I just wanted to make sure I got like the physicality of that water bottle right. And again, like they're, for like a young like couple where one is a tech bro and the other is an architect that are from New York. They both have a lot of survival skills.
Yeah, it was awesome to watch. I was like, I was rooting the whole time because, like I said, you never really see, smart horror characters in a film, and you guys knocked that part out of the park.
Thank you. Yeah, I think part of what I really liked about watching it as an audience member is that like it is kind of an action film too. Like
Hmm.
they're not necessarily sitting ducks. You know what I mean? There's a great deal of fight and a great deal of push and pull and like tension and release. And yeah, it's fun to watch.
So, obviously this whole situation is like there's really no way out of it. It kind of just feels very hopeless. How do you bring that emotion out as like an actor to really like help portray that and like thrust yourself into the situation?
Mm. I find what's really helpful as an actor is like weirdly enough doing the opposite of whatever it is I want to do, right? So if I want to be sad, I think about good things and I think about losing them. Right?
Yeah.
It's a weird direction for me, or I guess it's kind of like an aimless alleyway for me personally to be like be scared or be horrified, right? So it's always about breaking it down to the scene and thinking about what's the objective in this one scene and what am I listening to, what am I being present with. And I think for me, what I kept coming back to with Ryan in particular is how, for me, ultimately, like I'm moving cross country for this girl, and she matters more to me than anything in the world. And I think Ryan makes the decision very early on in the film that if it comes down to it, he will put his life on the line so she can get out. Um, because again, she is everything to him. And so he believes that he is in the Titanic. He's Jack, she's Rose. And every obstacle and every like dreadful block to that outcome just creates the dread. It creates the terror, and that way you don't have to really play the terror. You just play the love, and you play the care and the desire to, you know, see someone out, because I think we can all relate to having loved ones that we would protect.
Definitely. And last question, is there anything that you want the audience to know going into this film? And as a fan of horror now yourself, what's one horror film that scared the crap out of you that you want to recommend?
um, what do I want audiences to know? Well, first of all, I want them to know that this is a launching pad. It's the first of three. So get excited, because we shot 3 movies over the course of 52 days. So we have more in store that are nearly done, and they'll be coming out probably very quickly. And what's a horror movie I would recommend that scared the crap out of me? I would have to say I'm a big fan of like cosmic horror and like eldritch horror. So I love Annihilation, but it's not really a movie. But the video game Outlast scared the bejesus out of me. I and I loved it. I really did. Like, you can't even fight in that game. You can only hide and run. Um, God, that was a very scary video game.
I feel on that game scared the crap out of me too. There's something about horror games that are just like super terrifying.
It's like another level of immersion. Yeah, it was crazy.
Well, thank you so much for meeting with me today. I had a blast and congrats on all of this, The Strangers. I can't wait for people to see it.
Oh, thanks so much. Thank you for having me, Seth. I really appreciate it.
Of course, enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, man.